We have joining us right at the opening, Brooke Barnhill. Brooke has been with us in the past. Brooke, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for coming. I really appreciate this. And you have brought with you a student,
I have.
Skylar. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
And Skylar, a little something about you. What year are you?
I am a rising senior.
A rising senior at where?
West Carteret High School.
Okay. And you have been involved in the program that Brooke has been initiated at the county school system. Brooke, let's talk about that for a moment. What is this program?
So, one of the things that I have been doing, working with the health department here in Carteret County, was the curriculum that we talked about last time I was here. But I've also been tasked with creating a student group to allow individuals in the schools, young people, to get involved with substance use and helping in the community. Like I said, last time I was here, 1 in 3 individuals are affected by substance use in some way. 1 in 3. Yes. So
33% of the population is in some way impacted by drug abuse.
yes. Yeah. And I mean, a lot of those are those kids in the classrooms. You don't know what they're dealing with, what they're going home to, what if they have a sibling, a cousin, a parent. And it can be really confusing with everything else that students are dealing with nowadays, and just helping them to get involved and be a part of helping combat this problem in Carteret County.
All right, Carteret County, but also nationwide. Brooke, you're a master's, you're working on your master's degree in public health?
Yes.
All right, with a focus on substance abuse.
My focus is in health policy.
Health policy,
Yep.
okay, all right. But you've been involved with substance,
My undergrad was
Okay.
in public health with a minor in alcohol and drug studies.
Okay. All right. Question: is there is this a growing problem in the nation?
I believe so. I mean, look at the numbers. It's up. I think we have a 7% increase already this year in overdoses just in North Carolina. As you know, fentanyl is taking over and
Right.
really increasing these overdoses that people are seeing.
You know, I've said, and I don't mean this to be flippant, that in many regards, fentanyl is if you will, a bright line. And the reason I say it's a bright line is because it is, for all intents and purposes, a poison.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's a drug, but it's ostensibly it's a poison because it kills.
Yep.
So it strikes me that a lot of, my thinking is that a lot of drug users would be fearful of pursuing, experimentation out of fear of death. But that doesn't seem to happen.
No. As I'm sure you've heard from other sources as well, a lot of people that sell substances, that sell drugs, will lace whatever they're selling with fentanyl, and people that are using substances will go to that person, will go to whatever that substance is if they hear people are overdosing, because that means it's good. That means you're going to get a good high.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And that's the idea behind all of it. It sounds insane.
It is perverse.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the product you're selling is killing people, so it has got to be good, so I'm going to go buy it from you.
Yeah. Yep, and it increases that addiction that people have when they take it. They might not even know it's in there, but they keep coming back.
Here.
Yeah.
I mean, really?
It's really just so, just doesn't even make sense.
The world
but
is upside down.
Yeah, but it's happening. I mean, anyone you talk to that has their personal experience, anybody in recovery, they'll tell you that. I mean,
we're talking, that's Brooke Barnhill with us this afternoon, and she's with the Carter County, working with the Carter County Health Department. Ostensibly, you are, I'll use the word an intern. You are working on a grant program, and it's basically to establish a curriculum. Multiple activities, but the focus is really on the youth, right?
Yes, on the adolescent population, mostly the high school students.
Okay. Speaking of high school students, we've got Skylar here in the studio. And Skylar, I'm going to get you a little closer to that microphone. You are a rising senior at West Carteret.
Yes, sir.
All right, here's the question. And, talking to Brooke a moment ago about the issue of growth in drug abuse and substance abuse. By the way, we don't just need to say drugs. We can talk alcohol.
Yeah.
By the way, is an interesting story in the Sunday Carter County News Times about vapes. And let me start with that one with you, Skylar and West Carteret. How are students, are they vaping?
Yes, they definitely are. It has been a really big concern. It's become a very big concern for my generation, especially, and I've noticed it all around me. I personally have never been affected by it, and I've never been interested in it, just because of my own, like...
It's just your personality.
Yeah, I
Okay.
would say so.
But here's the interesting thing. Vapes require you have to be 21 in order to purchase a vape. How are they getting them?
So I would say a lot of people my age usually get them from friends or peers, people with older siblings, or just, it's very easy these days to get access to those kinds of things. Even though I'm personally not around it, I've been told just about how easy it is.
I can imagine. I'm confident that you do know that it's happening.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, as a matter of fact, I know that in some schools, they've actually had to shut down the bathrooms.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know that's happened here, has it?
So I don't believe we haven't had to shut down the bathrooms necessarily, but I know at West Carteret we've actually started implementing hall passes, like blue paper slips. And I know
to go
that
to the bathroom.
Yeah, actually, and it also has to do a lot with vandalism and other things like that. But I do know that that's something that we have had to start doing at West Carteret, just to monitor those kinds of things going on in the bathrooms, and students, going in like in groups of multiples and doing it. And it's been a way to kind of take it down a notch and try to patrol it a little more.
I'm going to come back to a question with you a moment, Skylar. Okay, Brooke, here we are. We're talking about something. I'm going to use the description as mild, as as vapes.
Mm-hmm.
So, and these youngsters know that you've got to be 21 to use them.
Yep.
But they're using them.
Yeah.
What is it? Has there been any discussion, any conversation about what is going on in the mind of a teenager this day and age? I'm curious. I'm going to get Skylar's observation on this in a moment. But what's going on in the mind of a teenager this day and age?
So before I implemented the curriculum that I was teaching at the schools, I conducted 6 focus groups, 2 at each high school. So one group would be all 9th graders, about 4 9th graders, and one group was for students that were sophomores to seniors.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the questions I asked them in those focus groups are, if you wanted to get, I don't know, a vape, how long would that take you to get? And 100% tell me I could have one by the end of the day. I even had a student tell me I could walk out of this room right now and have one in 10 minutes. He's like, I just need to go to the lunchroom. And it's just insane how accessible something that they're not of legal age is. And it's everywhere. And I've talked to the students directly about the vaping. And in the focus groups, I came to talk to them about substance misuse, but it all kind of came back to vaping because they see it so much. It's everywhere.
What is it, Skylar? What is it? A matter of their rebellion, or is this? It can be addictive. Smoking is an addiction, but what is it? Is it rebellion?
So I think that the concern of peer pressure definitely comes up,
Ooh.
and a lot of teens.
Time out. Peer pressure.
Yeah.
How? In what regard?
I think a lot of people my age are always looking for a home, a place to fit in, a group to fit in with, a place to belong. And I think that need for a sense of belonging really makes people get into different kind of substance abuses and alcohol and vaping. So I would say that has a lot to do with it, and also just seeing other people your age doing it, and I think it's it can be highly encouraged on social media and different things like that.
Okay, I told you before the program started. I mean, social media is one of my great concerns.
Yeah.
And because I think that I think it's contributing a lot to the problems we're seeing.
Yeah.
Brooke, the concept of wanting to belong. But wait a second, I've got 500 friends here at the, on my Facebook or Instagram. We'll talk about that in a moment. What goes on that we need, that we have that kind of a situation that's the kind of pressure they're experiencing? What do you have any answer to that? And let's acknowledge here at the outset, we're not looking to you for the answer. I'm just even speculation on your part.
Well, I think social media has definitely normalized a lot of behaviors, and so people put out there what they want others to see, what they think is important, and when you put out something like a vaping or drinking alcohol, you're normalizing that. But think of, you have 10 people that post of their vaping or their drinking alcohol or whatever it is, but then you have that 490 people that aren't doing that aren't posting it, but all they're seeing is those 10 that are.
Yeah.
You agree with that, Skylar?
I do agree. I think even for myself, even though I have never been influenced by it personally, I have definitely felt that like fear of missing out, like, oh, this is what the kids are doing. This is what my people are doing. Why am I not doing that? Is there something that I'm missing out on? Is this what's normal for my age, and what am I doing wrong, So that's definitely been a thought that even I've been conflicted with. And it's the thing that has mostly stopped me has just been the fear of not knowing what it can actually do and what it's going to do to my future as well. So that's what's definitely kept me out of it.
Those are excellent guardrails. I commend you on that. I mean, well, obviously, at your age, I say the rebellion, the concept of experimentation, the whole concept of what it is. Let me tell you a quick story before we go to the break. And I was reading this in the Washington Post. A very, very sad story. So 2 football players, straight A students, just top of the, scored high in every regard. They're highly regarded in their class, just sharp youngsters from well-to-do families, might add.
Yeah.
But active football players. Apparently had been scouted. Both of them were found dead by their parents. And the reason was one of them wanted to try a Percocet. But the Percocet that they acquired was tainted with fentanyl, and both of the youngsters died. The parents sought to find the distributor for the fentanyl. They worked to do that. The young man's sister, older sister, a college student, worked with the investigator and the parents, and they tracked the drug dealer down. So went through a long series of investigative work in the court, et cetera, and at the conclusion, they finally have he's been arrested, and he's going to stand trial. And the sister had gone back to school at this point. She'd gone back to college. The parents were excited. They were, well, I say excited. They were pleased, and they kept trying to call the sister. She died of an overdose.
Wow.
We'll leave it right there on Viewpoints. So coming back in just a moment. That's the kind of sad story that even the sister was abusing drugs as well, and the parents didn't know it.
Yeah.
More to come here on Viewpoints.com. As I mentioned at the opening of the program, we have a special program today. We're talking about, drug abuse, substance abuse. I shouldn't just say drug abuse. We have Skylar, who is a rising senior at West Carteret High School, and Brooke Barnhill, who's working with the Carter County Health Department. While we were talking off air a few moments ago about the influence of peer pressure, which is really very interesting, Skylar. Fear of missing out. You hear the acronym FOMO, and so I'm seeing somebody having a good time. They're, of course, seen with their vapes or with their beer, or worse, with their drugs. So social media is playing a big role in this.
Oh yeah, definitely. I see it everywhere personally, and I'm not really even involved in friend groups that do it or anything. I'm very involved in my church, but even for me, like it's all over the place.
You know, this is one thing, Brooke, we've talked about this. Drug usage in general has historically followed certain geographies, certain zip codes, certain ethnic groups, certain age groups, so forth and so on. What's interesting about the current drug disaster, I don't want to say epidemic, it's a disaster, it's worse than an epidemic, it's a catastrophe, is that it's taking so many young people at every demographic group.
Yep.
Age.
Doesn't discriminate, doesn't matter.
It's amazing. You know, you see this. These are people that are theoretically primed for their future. You said this earlier, Skylar, that one of the hesitancies you have, which is, I think, very candid on your part, and I like that. It's fear. It's the fear of the damage it could do to you physically, financially,
definitely,
socially, and of course mentally as well. Brooke, where is that fear in this generation? I mean, Skylar impresses me, but where's that fear? And by the way, to the audience listening to this program, and Brooke, you were saying this, drugs are infecting 1 in 3, 33% of the population. That's probably being very cautious, are in some way connected, impacted, influenced by drugs. They know family members, they have some contact with someone who's dealing with substance abuse. Recognizing at the opening of the conversation that we're dealing with a poison.
Yep.
A poison.
Yeah.
This is not a drug. But the synthetic fentanyl that they're dealing with now in such quantities, less than
Unless it's less than 2 grains of salt, somebody
2
could
grains,
overdose
2
on.
grains of salt.
Yep. And that's just the average. So,
Folks,
I mean, it could be less, it could be
if
more.
you're near a salt shaker, pour some salt on the table.
Yep.
And move away with your knife or your pen. 2 grains.
Yep. That's all it takes for someone to overdose. And it's no odor, no smell, no taste.
How come Skylar recognizes this fear, but there's so many that don't?
I don't know if I can answer that for Skylar, but
me personally, I would say a lot of it has to do with awareness in your own family. Your own family can have a very big influence on you and how you perceive things like that, and how dangerous it might seem, because I know that some families place more emphasis on the dangers of substance abuse, on the dangers of alcohol. Other families...
But it's not going to happen in my family.
That's a lie.
Excuse me,
And
say that again, Skylar?
That's a lie. It can happen to anyone.
Yeah.
Anyone. Yeah. And actually having that mentality is very dangerous. Having that mentality can get you in trouble.
Or your children, or your family, any number of family members.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brooke, you did a curriculum on this with the students at all 3 high schools. Was there any sense other than Skylar's and we were hoping to have more in here today, but that's fine. I thought this is a great program. Were there any other students that expressed the same fear that Skylar has? I say fear, I'll use the word awareness, but I like the word fear, frankly. Are there any others?
I believe so. I mean, we talked about last time the pre and post assessments that I conducted, and I told students in that post assessment, if any questions, comments, anything you want me to know, write it down and I'll read it, and you can get it to me that way if you don't want to talk to me afterwards. I had many students come up to me afterwards, some in tears, just asking for a hug or just telling me thank you. I had a student write me a long note on the end of one of their assessments, telling me about their experience in helping a friend that was recently trying to get off using substances. So I think that this generation, even though, I mean, we wish it was 100%, there's still people that, I mean, that 1 in 3 that are affected, that see that experience. Like Skylar and I were saying earlier, we only have a 7-year age difference here. And I was like Skylar, I never participated in those kinds of things.
I know.
And I saw, and I was scared of it, but it was because I saw how it affected others. So I think it's really different for everybody, but
I know that we're talking about substance abuse,
yeah.
but here's the problem. I think as an adult, I can understand substance abuse. And by the way, I am concerned about the potential legalization of marijuana. You were shaking your head on that, Skylar, that marijuana now is proving to be have really serious physiological effect on the brain of all things. I mean,
Yeah.
so, but I recognize we're talking about drugs, but I want to go to the issue of the social media. The problem I see, and I'm looking at you on this one, Brooke, but I want Skylar's comment, is that unfortunately, you mentioned 7 years difference. The use, the impact, the influence of social media. I know you use it. I hate it. Okay,
I hate it too, and I still use it.
I
Unfortunately,
do not use it, and I've got people who are saying, "Well, you never friend me." I never look. But I think the real problem here is that, and let's look at you in your generation, 24. How about Skylar's parents, who are, let's say, 35 or 40? The generational gap in communicating with you, Skylar, and your ilk, your kind, is challenging. Your parents don't. It's almost as if they don't even speak the same language. And I'm not faulting your parents, but I'm saying that for all those generations, that's the really tough part. And so, to your point earlier, you asked, you had a student come to you in tears, Brooke, because they themselves have experienced this. So you never would have imagined this in your years of going through high school. This is such a paradigm shift, such a difference in universes. I'm wondering, Skylar, what would you say to the parents out there?
I would say you need to know your children. In my family, we're very close, and
A little closer.
so in my family, I'm very close with my parents, and I definitely think that has helped me a lot to overcome kind of some of the peer pressures or feelings that I've faced, been conflicted with. And I think that it's really important that parents know their children, know what they're thinking about. And
Let me turn the tables on that. And to the experience that Brooke had, it would be worthwhile for the children to say, "Mom, Dad, talk to me.
yeah,
Look me in the eyeball. Let's have a real conversation."
definitely. Some families, unfortunately, don't have that experience
know.
for a number of reasons, and that can be very influential to just, obviously how kids my age behave, and reckless behaviors, and things that they want to experience or try, or experiment in. When you don't kind of have that backbone, that support from your parents, when your parents don't know what you're dealing with, what you're struggling with, and it just goes unseen, it goes unknown, it can become very dangerous for a child.
There's so many variables out there. All right, we're talking with Brooke Barnhill. She is with working with the Carter County Health Department. We've got Skylar, who's a rising senior at West Carteret. We're going to wrap things up here in just a few more minutes. We're talking, oddly enough, about substance abuse, but I'm looking for kind of a solution, or if you will, at least identifying the root cause so that we can start talking about a solution. More to come here on Viewpoints. I'm going to wrap it up. We've got Skylar. We are talking about drug abuse, but I'm looking for the root cause of it. So, Brooke, what were you hoping to do with your program at the with the high schools here this past spring?
Yeah, so I mean, my main goals was really to educate the students in the Carteret County schools. I told them repeatedly when I was there that this was information I didn't know when I was sitting in your seats. This was information.
Wait a second. Hold on.
Yeah.
It wasn't as rampant when you were sitting in those seats 7 years ago.
It was getting there. It was
starting.
It was, yeah. But it was still relevant. Things that I talked to them about could have been life-changing for me to have known with my personal experiences when I was in high school. And I know there's other students in there that this information can be life-changing for them to know at this age and to really understand what it means when somebody asks you if you want to try a Percocet or you want to try a Xanax. Really understanding the true effects of what is happening and what the outcome can be, especially with fentanyl now being such a huge problem. But students, they don't know what they don't know. And I really felt like it was my job to go in there and educate them.
Okay, you didn't simply say, no, Lockwood, you shouldn't do this. You said, okay, Lockwood, if you're going to do this, be aware of what's going to happen to you.
Well, I never said if you're going to do this, but I...
Oh, well.
but I did. I mean, I told them the effects of what doing things like this can do to people, can do to friends, family members, addiction in general, how just terrible and destructive it can be to an entire family, an entire friend group.
And you had a family member in there who was whose child had died?
Yes.
Right? So you were giving them full, fresh experience. Okay.
Yes.
To that point, Skylar, does that resonate with your kind, your group? Do they hear it, and will they respond to that?
Yeah, I definitely think when we hear stories from our peers or from families that have dealt with it, that have been devastated by this kind of stuff, it does kind of create more of a fear for us. I know that me personally, when I hear stuff like that, that definitely scares me away from it.
It made an impact on you.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
All right. We've got about 2 minutes to go. Skylar, thank you very much. I really appreciate the courage and also the candor. I mean, you were pretty bold. You're pretty blunt, okay? And I think that's what we need. Yeah. Am I correct on that, Brooke?
I 100% agree. Yeah.
I think we got to stop being kind.
Yeah. We can't tiptoe around this.
No sugarcoating.
Yeah.
And I think I'm saying this to the parents.
Yeah.
You know, parenting is tough. And Skylar's shaking her head. She knows she's made life miserable for him. Okay, but no, but it is. And the other kicker here, and Skylar, will wrap it up with you. After all that Brooke has done, the students that you know were in that class, were in those classes with you, will it have an impact on them?
Definitely.
Okay, so you've had conversations out of the off campus, if you will, about this.
Yeah, actually, what motivated me the most to join this group is to spread awareness and to educate myself more on the topic and be able to educate my friends.
Brooke, you're working on this in preparation for possibly next year.
Yes.
Let's go ahead and politic. This is a good program. You feel confident in it?
I feel really confident about it. I think a lot of good information has been given to students.
By the way, I'm thinking coming from you,
Yeah.
a 24-year-old,
Yeah.
is a lot more credible. Am I correct on that, Skylar? Coming from Brooke than if it were coming from me,
Oh, definitely.
being
I think
I'm only 40 years old.
Yeah, I definitely think having someone closer to our age, and someone that's more relatable, or someone that it just feels more personal, like they know us better, and she wants to come to us as a friend and not really like as an adult.
Or as an educator.
Yeah.
All right, I want to thank Skylar and Brooke. Brooke, excellent program.
Thank you. Thank
And
you.
not only today, but excellent program for what you've done for the county schools. And Skylar, really appreciate your time. I said it earlier, I appreciate the boldness, the candor,
Thank you.
and you didn't sugarcoat it. Thank you very much, both of you.
Thank you.
All right, Viewpoints on the Talk Station, FM 107.1.